Hey, what's up guys? It's Drew from the Sober Fix podcast, and I just recently switched over from doing online podcasts where I was just on a desktop speaking into my mic, and I'm now transferring over to doing the in-person stuff. And I only have 2 rooms to work with in an apartment, so I had to figure out how I was going to use my space wisely and get this all sorted out. So I wanted to make this video to just show people how I took a smaller room, took one side of the wall and turned it into a little studio. So I still needed to use this room to store stuff. So I had my dresser on the side. The whole back wall was a mirror, so I was dealing with that. And then of course I needed my desktop and desk for the online stuff. So originally I wanted to put a table in here, and I thought, okay, maybe I could do multiple people, we could record podcasts, it'll fit nice, but there just wasn't quite enough room. So I decided, look, I'm only gonna interview one guest at a time, it'll be me and someone else. So I went with the 2 chairs along with the side table in the middle, and I used the Rode arms to attach to the side table, and then I used PodMics as the mics. Now the problem was, as I was starting to film and mess around with my camera, the white walls on the background looked terrible. I had these chairs, this side table, I had some nice equipment that I had purchased, but the whole feel of everything just looked ridiculous. So I ended up going with the, on Amazon, the toner, T-O-N-O-R. It's these back pieces that you fit on the wall, and the cool thing was I didn't need to use any different adhesive like some of them use. These ones, you just peel the back and you're able to stick it right on the wall. And here's another box. So I haven't totally finished this little studio yet. So it came in these big boxes. I think it was a pack of 4 on Amazon. I think I needed 2 or 3 packs overall, but it made the feel just a lot better. It wasn't just white wall behind me. So next I had to find the fake plant. Everyone knows you cannot have an in-person podcast without a fake plant. So I found this little weird palm tree thing that was on Amazon, but I found you can go on OfferUp. There's a bunch of people selling fake plants for super cheap. I think this one was like 70 bucks on Amazon. You can get them for 10 bucks, 20 bucks at most on OfferUp. Next, I went with the podcast sign. I just found that on Amazon. I believe that was $170. There's a much cheaper alternatives to that. You can get a banner printed out. You can use a TV that you already have and just screen mirror your image or your logo, or even go on YouTube and just look up one of your episodes and just press play, stop it there, bam, now you have the background. This came out cool. Just be careful if you get certain colors don't show up as good on the camera, I've noticed. So this one, sometimes if it's a little bit too bright, I see it flickering on the actual recording. So I had to be careful with that. I had to turn the light down to about 10% on that light. And then I needed to figure out, okay, what else am I gonna put in here? Because it just seemed like there was stuff missing, and this isn't all quite done yet, but I found these on Amazon. I think these were 10 or 20 bucks. I found a few other things at different stores and on OfferUp that I was able to put on there, and it's made everything start to come together a little bit, and I think it looks a lot nicer than when I originally started. All right, my next thing was audio. Where am I recording my audio to? I ended up going with the Rodecaster Duo. Because I mentioned with space, I was only gonna have me and one other person, one other guest. So this is perfect, 2 XLR inputs, the 2 headphones. It does have the capability for a 3rd mic. That 3rd mic has to be USB though. I'd recommend for anyone that is gonna be doing online podcasting first, and then with the hope of eventually doing it in person, the PodMic USB is a good choice for that, because you can use it originally connected to your computer via USB. It just plugs straight in. You don't need an audio interface or anything. But then later on, if you end up doing in-person stuff, you can use that same mic because it has XLR capabilities as well. Now the Rodecaster Duo for me has been amazing. You can set different effects on it. You could change your gain. You could change a bunch of different stuff, put effects on your voice, and it's been a good thing for me. Now, if you're someone who is going to be doing 4 people recording, stuff like that, probably want to look into the Rodecaster Pro too. So The next thing on my radar was lighting, and anyone will tell you lighting can be a pain in the ass, especially if you're someone like me who had no experience with videography, didn't really know what I was doing at first. I bought some lights, they didn't work. I bought some more, they didn't work. I ended up with the GVM 560s, two bi-colored lights. They've been pretty good. They're all right. I wasn't entirely satisfied with them overall. I now use them as two backlights or hair lights or whatever you want to say, and they've been okay, but I finally decided, look, I'm just going to save up and I'm just going to get something that's a really good light, something that I could use forever, something that'll be decent. I'll show you the new one that I got. This is what I finally decided on. It was the Amaran 200 XS, and it was a little bit pricier than most of the other stuff, but I'm finally satisfied with it. Now, I ended up getting the huge one. It takes up a decent amount of space in my room. It came with a big tripod though, so I could raise it all the way to the ceiling. There's also a bunch of stuff online to where you can actually have it hanging from the ceiling, which would be cool. I would recommend, if you have a really small space though, getting the mini dome on it so it doesn't take up as much space, but I've been very satisfied with this lighting. I figured, look, if I just save up, spend a little bit more on this lighting, I don't have to deal with this shit anymore. I don't have to keep buying these cheap lights and they suck. Another tip too is you can find a ton of podcast stuff online, OfferUp, eBay. There are a lot of people that say, look, I want to make a podcast. It's easy, it'll be fun, it'll be a good time. And then they start and they realize, ooh, there's a little bit of a learning curve to this sometimes. Or, ooh, this takes a lot of consistency. This takes a lot of work. And then they say, you know what, screw it. Maybe they're too busy. They have too busy of a schedule. And they end up selling the stuff for pretty cheap. So go online, man. See what you need. Look around. You can get some good prices on some pretty much new equipment. Now, for software that I use, recording software, I like to run everything to my computer using the Rodecaster Duo, using all my equipment and having it run, and I use Riverside.fm to record. Now, not everyone likes Riverside to record. I've seen some reviews where people said they had issues with it or it was lagging, stuff like that. I like it because as I'm recording, it's all stored on there. I can go into the episode, I can add my intro, I can add my outro. I also like it if you're doing the online stuff because you can also clean up audio with it. You can generate AI show notes with keywords for tagging, and it also does these takeaways where it takes pieces of the episode and gives you like little takeaways on there. Helps with your SEO score when you're posting stuff onto YouTube and things like that. I also like it because you could send invite. If you're doing the online stuff, you could send invites to your guests. So after you send them your calendar and they pick a date and this and that and they provide their email, you could send a link straight to their email, which will bring them into the recording when it's time to record. So all they have to do is open up their email, click on the link, bam, they are right there in the studio with you, ready to record. Now, I like using Riverside when I'm doing in-person stuff as well, because I don't have to save everything to an extra hard drive. I don't have to align my audio with my video. It's just so much easier. It streamlines everything. One of the biggest things I've always battled as I'm podcasting is my schedule with work, everything else that I have going on. I needed to make everything run smoothly and as efficient as possible. Now, the next thing I got was a video switcher. Now, the only problem with this is when I was doing the online stuff, all I needed was a webcam. I had the Link 2, it was in 4K, it recorded straight to my computer in Riverside. It was really easy. And as I switched to in-person stuff, now I'm hearing, oh, you need multiple cameras, and in order to switch views, you need a video switcher. I ended up getting the A10 Mini Pro ISO. I think it was around 500 something. I think the cheapest one was like 300, but it doesn't save the files individually. So you have to get the video switching right because it only gives you the one production. Now, this thing was cool and it's worked out really well. The way that I use it is I run all my cameras into this through HDMI cords, and then I end up plugging it into my computer and I use it in Riverside as essentially a webcam. So it shows up as Blackmagic, A10, whatever. I click on that, that's my webcam, and I can manually switch between buttons. And this thing's cool because it just saves time. I don't have to record on multiple cameras. cameras, save it all to SD cards, load it all to my computer, align all the video with the audio. I just run everything into this on Riverside. And what's cool with this is you can pair it with the Mix Effect app. So if you're someone like me who doesn't have anyone helping you to record, you don't have anyone pressing play or filming for you or anything like that, what you can do is you can use the Mix Effect app to trigger different camera angles based on whichever mic you're using. So you use mic 1, you could set it to camera 1, boom, now you're on the guest. You set it to mic 2, it goes to someone else, you know, so that's what's really cool. It's definitely a lot more that you have to buy, a lot more that you have to worry about when you're doing the in-person stuff, I found, versus just recording podcasts online. I recorded this on the Sony a7 Mark IV 30 to 70 millimeter lens. I also use the Sony FX30 with the Sigma 16 millimeter lens, and then I have a Sony ZV-1. And the Sony ZV-1s are great. I really like those cameras. I think I got mine used for like $380, $400. But what is a cheap alternative to all this stuff? Because my advice would be, I didn't start buying a little bit nicer equipment until I had been podcasting for 2 years. Now, I'm not saying that's how you should do it. Maybe you want to get nice equipment right away, but my advice would be to see if it's something that you can fit into your schedule. See if it's something you like. See if it's something that you can do consistently, because I found it took a lot more work than I initially thought it would be earlier on. But what is a cheaper alternative? Let's say you want to do an in-person podcast and you're thinking, man, I don't even know if I like doing podcasts yet. What's a cheap way to get into this? You could do everything from your phone. You can get 2 lavalier mics, turn your phone sideways, start recording. I mean, you're only going to have one angle, but you'd be surprised at how good you can make things look using just the iPhone. And you can get some decent lavalier mics that are not super expensive. Another alternative to filming an in-person podcast is to have your computer in front of you and use a webcam. You can get really nice 4K webcams that aren't that expensive, as opposed to getting a bunch of cameras and having to use a video switcher and all that stuff. So my advice would be, if you want to do it cheap, man, you definitely can. And you'd be surprised at how good you can make things sound and look using just an iPhone and some cheaper lavalier mics. Or you could run, if you really want to use decent XLR mics and you have audio interfaces and stuff like that, you can run your mics into the audio interface, run that into your computer, and then you can use a webcam that is just one angle showing both of you. It'll be in 4K and it'll look great, man. So I just wanted to make this video. I've been podcasting for a little over 2 years now. I knew nothing when I started about cameras, videography, audio recording, anything. So I figured, look, I've learned a little bit along the way, mainly from mistakes and wasting money on purchases and stuff. So I just wanted to make a video and show you guys how I took a small room, found a wall that I wanted, and made a little studio out of it. So thanks for listening, guys. I hope you have a great day. If you ever get a second, check out the Sober Fix podcast. I appreciate it. See you guys later.